I'm Allie, and I'm here to share my story. And it's also a testimony. So, I was raised in a Christian home um, in Oregon, and I always actually believed in God. And I feel like I was talking to Him even since the womb. So, that's, I know, something most people probably dispute that you can remember that far back, but I did. I can. So, anyway, like, I remember at the age of 3, hearing the gospel and wanting to accept Jesus into my heart. I think I got the concept of hell and scared me, and I wanted to like make sure I was safe because I really felt like I already believed in him. It's hard to remember. I mean, that was a long time ago. So anyway, I during nap time one day, and I have a twin brother, so he was still napping. I wasn't. Like I'd outgrown that. Like everything else was ahead of him. Anyway, I woke him up during our nap time. I think this was probably like on Monday. I think it was the day after church. And I don't know what they were teaching us in Sunday school so young, but like, this was like a burning thing on my heart. Anyway, I said, Neil, did you believe what they said about Jesus, like accepting him into our hearts? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, don't you think we should do it? He's like, yeah. And he's probably still like sleepy. And I was like, well, let's go ask mom then. So we went downstairs and we asked her if she would lead us in a prayer to accept Jesus into our hearts. And she did. And I really felt like this spiritual, like being, like a invisible kind of man, but I just kind of saw the shimmers just kind of step into me, and I felt this. It's kind of hard to remember, like I think a peace and just like a fullness, like oh, there's someone here with me now, and so it was a very real experience. I should ask him what that was like for him because I'm not actually sure. Um. Anyway, so like after that point, I just remember just talking even more consciously with God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, whoever it was. I think it was like all three to some extent. Um, I mean, like little things I remember is going to get our picture taken. I think I tripped on the step or something, hit my knee, and I didn't want the lady taking the picture to feel bad, so I smiled, even though it hurt. Things like that I would do. But I also like remember thinking, oh, she should know Jesus too. Not that I said anything. When my dad took us to his work, like lunchroom this one day, he worked for the county, which was scary. We were afraid of people, all these strange men sitting around the lunch table with those old fashioned lunchbox things. But I didn't say a word, I was a silent little kid, but I felt like they needed Jesus too. And I just kind of felt that conflict of, I don't know how I'm ever going to talk to these people because I'm afraid of them, but I know that they need God. Let's see. I mean, I also had an angel friend around that time that, like, at the age of 3, that I would talk to. As far as I know, it was a good angel. She said her name was Kim. It was again like kind of a invisible, shimmery being. She would encourage me to like not be afraid to like try roller skating, which I was afraid to do. And I don't actually think I did that. I was still afraid, but little things like that. I would get kind of bored, even though I had a twin brother. He would like to watch TV. I would want to do something more fun. So just she would talk to me and make me feel like I had a friend. Um, okay, fast forward like a year ish. There was my dad was a very or quite angry person back then. He was only like 26 when we were born. So I mean, I guess he was 29 ish, 20, 30 at this time. But like he would just be upset, yelling in the kitchen. We didn't really know why. Would stomp around and just, we'd be afraid of him. Um, Yeah, and let's see. Also, like I love to share and talk. Like I wanted to be understood. I saw things very, sensitively, emotionally, imaginatively. I'm not entirely sure. So I would always be trying to share these things with my mom, and she would just never get what I was saying. And she saw me talking to my imaginary friend one day, and like queried me about it, and I told her, "Oh, it's Kim, blah, blah, my friend." And she scared me off of that idea. She said, "Oh, well, that." I mean, I don't remember exactly what she said, but she said, "Oh, I don't think you should talk to her for whatever reason." And so it scared me. I was like, "Oh, am I doing the wrong thing? Am I bad? Am I wrong? Is this wrong? Am I bad?" So I told Kim like the next day, "I'm sorry, I don't want to play with you anymore." It's just so sad. So then I became more lonely again, I guess. Um, so I just remember when I was around 4, some combination of these things, feeling the defective, rejected from my mom, and just scared, like I don't matter, or just fear for my dad. Whatever that was. I remember feeling this other being step into me. It was a demon of fear, and it was like a dark, shadowy thing, and it stepped into like my feet. I think my hands. I don't know. It's just the impression I have. So from that day forward, I was like even more fearful than I was already. Okay, so then when I was 5 and a half, we moved to the country. By that time, I had a baby sister. She was like 6 months old at the time, or close to that. So we moved to the country from Salem, Oregon. Yeah, oh yeah, that's what it is. The house seemed to be haunted a little bit. My brother and I picked up on that. um, like, and even at our old house, there was this ghost that would appear. I mean, it was a demon. We didn't know what it was, but it was in the guise of the neighborhood watchman, the fedora hat and the trench coat. It just kind of came into the middle of our room and stood there, and we saw it, and it scared us. And it happened a couple nights in a row. At some point, we told our dad what was happening, and he said, "Oh, just tell it to leave in Jesus' name." So then the next day when it came, we told it to leave in Jesus' name, and it left, and that was the last of that. So fast forward to this new house, which was like in the woods, like on 3 acres of property, but not like a little neighborhood town like the one in Salem. Um, just we would sense little, like, okay, Ghostbusters was big back then, or at least it was a few years later. It was that kind of ghosts, not that scary, honestly, but still spooky for a kid. Like, um, and these are just like dim impressions for the most part. Like a face of a guy, just I don't even know if I remember, but little goofy looking little creatures. Like I feel like I saw one that looked something like the Marshmallow Man, not that big, but I kind of remember thinking that now. And maybe just like the main ghost kind of look. I don't know, but I know we saw them, and then even sometimes when we didn't see them, we would feel them, feel something watching you. And my brother and I would often run upstairs to safety because the basement was kind of creepy, and we felt way safer upstairs. And besides, parents tended to be upstairs. It was a rambling ranch house. It was built by Mormons, so I'm guessing it was kind of like from their beliefs that those things were there. Even in the woods and trails, sometimes I would feel some creepy. I'd get like little glimpses of them, like a dark shadowy, like a shadowy thing, but it was just very, very quick. And that was a long time ago. And I don't remember exactly what they look like. Mostly like in the woods, it was like men's faces, I think. So too bad my parents didn't know anything about bleeding the blood or putting protection around the house, but they were, Christians in belief, but not really in a spiritual way, at least not in a deep spiritual way. So, okay, here. So my parents decided to homeschool us because my dad had been bullied in high school, and they just didn't feel like they got the best education. But I think it was this fear from him to some extent, and like homeschooling was becoming popular, and yeah, all good in theory. It just we were already so isolated. So like in this neighborhood we had just moved to, it just so happens that there were three boys across the street from us, one in our grade. There's a girl up the street, two houses, who became my best friend, who was in our grade. There's actually a girl up to the side of us in our grade, one across from that friend. So like just a whole neighborhood of people who would have been in our class, basically. So they kind of knew about us, even though we never really got to know them. For the most part, we did get to know them a little bit, riding bikes and stuff. But so we always felt this weird tension of being excluded, not being normal, not being included, not really knowing why we weren't, other than the fact that we were Christian. So it's kind of like this confusing sense. Like, are we better than them? Are we worse than them? Like, for the most part, it just felt like we didn't get to, especially for me, because I was fairly type A, and I always kind of wanted to be a teacher as well as a writer and a illustrator. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to have the normal experience. I liked doing the right thing, wanted to do the normal thing, and I didn't get to, and that was really hard for me. So let's see. We grew up. Man, I didn't know I'd get into all this. I used to had my friend up the street. So she would play in the summers a lot and after school. And so I get a little bit of info on what kids were like and what people were talking about from her, but not a lot. Later, there was a homeschool group, but just not super huge, and most of them were like my sister's age, 5 years younger. But there were a few kids and friends we had for a while as kids. And then when we were teenagers, like 11, we met this really cool family of four girls, one like 2 years older than me, one my age, a few months younger, 2 years younger than that, 2 years younger than that. So it seemed like a good fit, at least me and my sister, my brother, maybe a little less. Yeah, they were fun. They were fun for a while. Like the main girl, the oldest one, who was kind of like a ringleader. She was very much tomboy, so she actually liked hanging out with guys better. But she didn't really click with my brother. My brother is kind of a little different. So, but later with our other friends up the street who were homeschooled and had a boy our age, like a year younger, our grade, and then a boy younger than that, and then two girls younger than that. We started taking Spanish class with them all, and so they got to know each other. And this older girl really liked the two boys. They followed her around. It became like this weird clique. It just became like we eventually got excluded from their little friend group. So that was really painful for all of us, my siblings and I, because we didn't really have anyone else, and we really liked that social group, and we'd known both of them first. Yeah. I did always have my cousin, who's like 5 weeks older than me, so we're like almost the same age, which has always been nice. But like all relationships, it's a little complicated. Wow. Okay. Let me think a second here. Um, so yeah, my dad had his own woodworking business where he made like marquetry pictures on wooden objects like mirrors and boxes and things like that. So he always wanted us to be entrepreneurial if possible, but like to have a skill work in the shop because his dad had a lumber yard. He grew up proving himself by like being really quick with different tasks at the lumber yard, cutting wood and stuff like that. So he wanted us to be like him. But my brother and I and sister are not very much like him at all. Um, so that was kind of a struggle. So anyway, he always had us work hours and hours there, and would just berate us if we messed up at all. And it was just dependent on his mood. And if you haven't been around someone like this, you won't believe me because like some of my own family doesn't believe me. But he would just take his anger, rage out at us, like weekly, kind of. So we just grew up walking on eggshells and being happy when he was in a good mood. Just kind of like, let's not rock the boat. Let's just agree with whatever he says and keep it light, that sort of thing. So, yeah, and it's hard to explain. Like what one, I mean, first of all, my brother and I were 7 when he first had to start doing tasks with the boxes, unclamping them. Seems a little young, perhaps. Um, and then when we were 10, he had us work 3 hours a day in the summer, which was a lot when my friend Mandy would be coming over and asking to play. We'd be like, no, we have to work in the shop for 3 hours. Just, I don't know. I don't know exactly what I think about that now. Um, I think that skipped with the year we were 11, but then it continued from there on out, which is fine. Once you get a little older, it's totally fine. But when you're children still, um, it didn't feel very fair. And again, it wouldn't have been bad if we had been treated with equality, like with dignity, with like a reciprocal relationship where like we could ask questions, we could voice concerns, but it wasn't like that. It was, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. If we asked questions, at some point it became where we couldn't ask questions. He'd be like, the answer to that. And he just wouldn't tell us. So like some of the stuff we'd be doing in the dark, it just felt like a madhouse, to be honest. And his evident narcissism towards us kind of grew as we grew older. So it wasn't like it was always there. In fact, he was a pretty nice dad when we were young, again, except for the fact that we were afraid of him because of his anger. But that was with him yelling and stomping at my mom and throwing things around sometimes. Fortunately, not an alcoholic or anything. He didn't even drink at all. Like a beer in the summer, that's it. But yeah, as we got older, it just seemed like he hated us for no reason. So one example would be when I was 6. This was like one of the first times I felt, wow, unjust. I was down the hill, which was 100 feet, I don't know, 100 feet away from our house, kind of down an incline. There were 3 trails that led down there. He told me, "Oh, go up the hill, run up the hill, and get a wrench." And I was 6. Okay, so I was like, "Wait, wrench, pliers?" Those are the 2 things I kind of confused. I'm like, "What is a wrench? The one that blah blah blah?" And he's like, you know the answer." So I didn't know, and I ran up the hill and was like, "Which one do I bring?" And again, like I don't remember these things verbatim. It's a long time ago. It seems like if I was smart, I would have brought both. I asked him, can I bring both? He said, no, you know what it is. Bring the one. Just bring one. Don't bring both. So I took a guess and it was the wrong one, of course. I ran down there with pliers, I guess, or whatever the opposite was. And so he, gave me just a big lecture. Well, you don't know what a wrench is, blah, blah, blah. And so I just remember tears streaming down my face. And it was just mostly because it felt humiliating, unfair, and just why did he hate me? Like, why? Like, it made no sense because I could have just brought them both. It just seemed like this weird, scenario stacked against me so that I had to fail so that he could yell at me. And that was like the first time. And that I, yeah, first time that I felt that unfairness thing. Maybe not the first time, but okay. There was something significant about that time. I just got worse from there. There were other times when I was a little younger, but I'm not remembering. I've written about them. So just to give you a sense, let's see, I guess I can't really pause this. I did a dance class when I was three, four, maybe five. I don't know. Um, and afterwards, one of the times, probably when I was about four, we went to Baskin Robbins to get ice cream with my grandma, and I think that's all. And I've always had this favorite chocolate chip mint. It used to be called. They now call it mint chocolate chip, but it should be called chocolate chip mint. It's actually still my favorite ice cream. So I wanted that, and he said, "Oh, you don't want that." He just kind of like was hovering around me and like whispering in my ear, "No, try something new." I'm like, "No, I want that one. No, no, try one. Try a new one. Try a new one." It was like, if I had been like a more willful child, I could have said, "No, I want that one," or thrown a tantrum, or just walked away from him because there was this creepy kind of whispering in my ear, like he wanted this kind of wheedling voice, like he just wanted me to do what he wanted me to do, wanted to control me, and um, so it creeped me out. But I'm a very pleasing person, so I was like, okay, and I didn't want to disobey him. Like there's no way the way I was raised, I would ever have like thrown a tantrum or told him no or walked away from him. There's just no way, and I don't think he would have let it go if I had. But though he eventually convinced me to try a different one. I have no idea what it was. So I did, and I didn't like it. And so I started crying because, like, I was four. One thing, it's hard to be disappointed. It was supposed to be a celebration of me, too. And he's like, you chose that. You didn't have to. You chose it. Can I? And I was like, can I have chocolate chip mint? No, you chose that. You have to eat it. So I didn't eat it. I was just crying and crying. Probably not loudly, but just tears coming down my face. And I just remember being in the car as we were driving away, just still tears streaming down because it was just mean. It was just mean. And my grandma staring at me like, what's wrong with her? Like, or why is she still crying? I don't know. So that was one of those times. Another time when I think I was four, five, possibly five. Um, at the fair, there was bumper cars. So I didn't really want to do it. It just didn't look like fun to me bumping around each other. But of course, my dad wanted us to do it, and so I had to get my own car. And I figured out how to do it. It really wasn't that hard. But I didn't even want to be doing it by myself. I like to be with people, not independent in this own car. And he made sure to like bump me into the corner so that until I cried, you know, um, and just kind of that maniacal laughter. And so, you can't say that he wasn't trying to make me cry in these instances because that's what it came to each time. And he just kind of wouldn't stop then. And he didn't come for me. He just wanted me to cry. And gosh, I feel like there was a third thing. But anyway, that's enough for now. Um, yeah, so just growing up was hard. Probably should break these up into smaller segments. Um, I should move along. Let's see. Here's my notes. Um, okay, so yeah, as we got a little older, working in the shop, I mean, it's not like I remember each instance. It's just a compilation of what happened. It just became more abusive, more verbally abusive, and he never like called us names, like per se. It could have been worse, but it was just like, "Are you stupid? What are you stupid?" So he didn't say you're stupid. He said, "Are you stupid?" Pretty similar, pretty close. Um, but I mean, I guess the worst part was just getting lectured and having to listen for an hour, and it was this convoluted scenario. Like if we asked like, "Well, what did I do wrong?" If it was something we didn't do wrong, it didn't make sense. He would give a scenario of a story of what we did, which like just tell us what we actually did wrong. You know what I'm saying? The scenario, and then at the end we'd be like, he's like, "Does that make sense?" And we'd be like, "No." Seriously. But then he'd start again with some other scenario or the same one. So basically, it just became this. He wants to lecture us. We're not going to get out of this lecture until we agree. So we would just agree. We would just kind of, I guess, nod. Yeah, sure. And then if he'd leave and, well, don't do it again, and he'd leave, and then we'd be like, ask each other, like, what are we supposed to do? I don't know. What are we supposed to do? So we just hope that the anger was gone. He wouldn't accuse us of that again. And usually he wouldn't, because the anger was gone, because it had nothing to do with what we were doing. Sometimes, of course, we didn't do it right, whatever it was. Wood filling the cracks of these things, if the wood filler wasn't getting in the cracks perfectly, or like, I understand this is legitimate. Show us how to do it again. But then he would say, "Do those all again and you're not getting paid. So stop the clock. So that happened all the time. And I guess also the fact that it happened at the end, like we just finished it. It took an hour and a half or 2.5 hours. And then we have to do it all over again for free, rather than just 5 minutes, 10 minutes in, kind of check on us and see if we're doing okay. Wasn't very fair. I do remember him checking in 5, 10 minutes, but he wouldn't. Sometimes, I don't know. Just seems like nothing was ever caught then. I don't know. Not in my memory. There was just so many times we finished something and then it was like all wrong. Sometimes it was, something you couldn't prove. Anyway, I'm sure this is boring. I just remember we also would dust off the wood after it had been sanded, just so it was dust free for a finishing stage. So like for that, like I was in there dusting off these hand mirrors, and like the thing is, like, he would scare us because it was like this demon staring at us. And he'd have this big frown, and like literally his expression looked demonic. He looks like the Grinch, like his resting face is kind of like the Grinch. So it looks like. I think he's got a lot of demons. So anyway, once I dropped the thing because he scared me, startled me, just come up behind with a loud voice and like scare the heck out of you. But he never was aware that he had any effect on us. Anyway, and all that wouldn't have been as big of a deal if we'd had like school or a social life or something. But like we didn't. We went from that to my mom, she's very space cadet-y, like, and didn't teach us much at all. I just sort of reread our own things. She couldn't help us. She couldn't help me tell me what an adverb was, so I was always confused about that. She didn't manage to teach us the multiplication tables either, and that might have been partly our fault. It wasn't something my brother and I wanted to learn, but like that came easily. But I still think if you worked with kids at that, they probably could learn. I don't think we were stupid. She didn't really work with us very hard. She just wanted us to memorize it blindly. I don't know. So it just kind of felt like after second or third grade, she was just pro forma a teacher. Yeah. Um, again, like none of this would have even made such a dent if we'd had a life. We didn't. So yeah, fast forward to when we had the friends we met when we were 11, and then probably that Spanish class was when I was 13. Actually, I think I was 15. Yeah, I guess we'd known them for a while. Maybe 14. Maybe 14 when it started. So shortly thereafter, they started clicking off with each other, and then they both families bought season tickets to this mountain for skiing, and like, but my dad didn't want to do that, so we didn't learn to ski. They set it up so that there was a homeschool week-long ski camp thing, which was really fun. But like again, they all knew how to ski, so we tagged along once, and they Jessica, the ring leader, and the boys, like, they just went fast, and like I just remember going off this little jump, not knowing it was there, and landing on my butt, and then they kind of kind of laughed, kind of went off. I think they did wait for us for that one, but anyway, it was you can imagine you're trying to have friends, and they're totally feel like an idiot and kind of making fun of you. You don't get to do the fun things that they do, like learn to ski, and it just yeah, and it got worse. Got worse after that, but um, it was just hard feeling like a lot of the reason we weren't cool was because my dad, and he just wouldn't let us do fun things. Um, I just thought of something. Oh yeah, also like we had a trampoline. They had one neighbors had a trampoline. I don't know why that made me think of it, but like they had them all over to spend the night at their house, and we were actually invited to that. And then my dad wouldn't let us go. He's like, "No, you have to work." They give us a big lecture about work and all this stuff you haven't done yet. Blah, blah, blah. Um, so that's like really just humiliating as a 15-year-old. My sister, I don't know if my sister, I think she may have gotten to spend the night. Um, they spent the night with them all the time. I just remember doing it one time. That was it. And other times we had to say we couldn't. And yeah. So just like the friendship drifted, and just we felt like excluded idiots, and we're kind of treated that way by the one girl, the mean girl. Oh boy. Okay, fast forward. So a little later, when I was, graduating high school at 18. Why was I so old, man? Because I started a little late. Um, anyway, I found this Bible school nearby, because I wanted to or I wanted to go to Hillsdale, but my dad was adamant, no, I'm not paying for that. I'm not going to help you. You have to pay for your college yourself. Blah, blah, blah. That's why you've been working in the shop this whole time. And it's like, well, I had $14,000 saved. So I found this small Bible school, which actually seemed like the perfect fit. It was 14 miles away, like at this camp we had done once when I was 10, like a day camp thing. It was good. It was fairly good. If it was good in many ways, not so much in some ways. But anyway, since I did want to eventually transfer to this Hillsdale college where my cousin got to go, parents paid for it, financial aid, that sort of thing. For me, it was just argument and tension, and yelling fits if this was brought up. So anyway, I was just happy to have found a stopgap, something I could do first. And also at the same time, I planned out like all the things I needed. I went to community college to get some basic credits because this Bible college wasn't accredited at all. It was tiny. There were 4 people in our class. These little cabins where they taught Greek and the Bible, but it was still good for me at the time. So the people were nice. Like my roommate was very, very nice, and the trying to remember who it was. I mean, not my roommate. Oh yeah, yeah, I remember. The other girl was very nice, and then the boy, who other guy, he was young. He was only 16. He was homeschooled, so he was doing that too. He was commuting. They were cool. The staff seemed really nice. The teachers, yada yada. Um, and just being there after being at home, all those 18 years growing up, I realized how unfree I was to speak at home, like just to say anything off the cuff, because it was always, what mood is my dad in? What does he want to say? Like, because he didn't want like a lot of noise. Like if we were just making noise, I mean, I'm a very quiet person, so I don't know what, like slurping or just sipping tea, and even that he would make fun of. But we weren't going to just be loud if he was there. Um, so anyway, just realizing, wow, I can freely talk. I can kind of make jokes. People actually think I'm funny. Like people actually listen to me. Like I think I thought it was funny. I don't even know, because I didn't say much out loud. I would say things under my breath at home. Or I would say the thing I knew my dad would say, because we did kind of think alike in some certain ways, like humor, for example. And so it was kind of like I could echo him or pre-echo him, and that was it. That was the only way I could have a voice. Other than that, I could just say something under my breath, like this ironic, resigned thing, basically, feeling so powerless and trapped under my breath. Um, so yeah, this Bible school was great. I wish I should say great. There's a caveat. Okay, I wish I was better at languages, but they're hard, and so I'm not. So it was like a lot of looking up and just not like remembering it. Like getting it into your memory. It was more just like constantly looking up all the words and translating. So I didn't really learn it super well, obviously, but somewhat. And it was very cool that we got to go through like the book of John. I think we did the whole thing, and then other books. I'm thinking it was like First and Second Thessalonians, probably Ephesians, Philippians. Some of the cool Pauline epistles. The thing that wasn't so cool was they were hyper dispensationalist. So I didn't know that going in. And what that means is, um, how to describe it. They believe that Paul is the apostle. I don't even know if that's the right word. Obviously, he's the apostle. Apostle to the church. Jesus was, I don't know if apostle the right word, apostle to the Jews. So it's like they split Jesus from Paul. Like there's the Gospels, and that was written for the Jews, and then there's Paul's epistles written for the Christian church, the church age. So that was totally mind bending to try to like understand why they would think that. I'm not saying I did believe them or agree in, because I didn't. But I had that forced down my throat for 2 years. Um, to my credit, I always defended this basic Christianity, sound doctrine. Um, but it just like put this. I don't know what maybe a fear or just a anyway, it was a weird spirit I was constantly coming against. And oh yeah, it I remember describing it as I just felt like it put a doubt in my heart, even though I never believed it. Just to hear that for 2 years from all these people, and your friends kind of are accepting it. The three people in my grade, um, they just kind of accepted it. Like I remember talking to them about it. I think they kind of accepted it over time. Like, I don't even know if they kept with that, but like they weren't fighting it like I was. Like this is off. This is totally wrong. Totally wrong. Um, but yeah, it planted this like doubt in my heart, because as I entered that Bible school, I was surprisingly growing up with my family. Like it just, I knew that Jesus loved me. Like I felt that strongly. And I had been reading the Bible a lot from the age of 15 to this Bible school, so 18. So yeah, it was a time of a lot of growth, and just sort of that was my focus. So, and I wanted to evangelize more. I wanted to learn the Bible so that I could live the Christian life and evangelize. And to be in this strange cult like school that totally did not believe in evangelism at all, because I mean they were hyper grace, hyper Pauline. So they, and along with that came predestination. That was, their big word. And that was their big word, more than sovereignty of God, which I've run into plenty of times since. But they literally did not believe evangelizing was to any effect, because if God wanted someone to be saved, he would zap them, with the knowledge they'd be saved. It had nothing to do with us using our mouths or speaking. Yeah, and like maybe just combined with my silent life, living my true life inside and visibly to the world, how I grew up. I didn't really touch on that much, other than just not being able to speak, my dad. But yeah, that continued in that way. It was like, wow, whatever demons were bullying me with my dad, they're here too. It was so disappointing. Yeah. So anyway, I was there for 2 years. So the second year, a new guy came in, and he's a really cool guy. A few years older. He's from Washington State, and so he livened it up, and he was fun to hang out with. A very nice, kind person. So it did a lot for me to have friends who were Christian. But just the whole teaching there was so weird. Whew, man, that was slow. I'm going to stop this now and continue later. All right.